Hi, my name is Calcifer Benitex. I am a psychology and HDFS double major. Mainly work at the UConn Rainbow Center, so I am the major programs team leader where I coordinate a lot of the big events that we do. So we just had our 2022 UConn drag show last Saturday, April 9th. I am only half Asian, so I'm also half Hispanic, and I think that really influences a lot of how I navigate around UConn, in which sometimes I don't feel completely Asian just because I do have that other side of myself. So I always have to think do I belong in this space, do I not? I think being an Asian student at UConn is interesting to say the least. Definitely, I don't see a whole lot of people who look like myself, especially in my classes. I'm usually surrounded by non-Asian Americans or just Asian people in general. Sometimes it can feel a little isolating. Even if I do meet other Asian people, which I always definitely look forward to, never really my ethnicity, which is fine. I guess it would just be nice to meet other Indonesian people. I think it's also interesting being an Asian American student because I feel that my community is raised a little differently from other people around us. A lot of the times have our first generation, so we have immigrant parents, they teach us different values, and let's say your average American family. So I come into UConn with a lot of different ideals and I guess my peers. I wanted to hopefully be a marriage and family therapist after I graduate college, potentially going to grad school. Obviously things may change, but being a therapist is so far my end goal. I think being half Asian influences that mostly because I know that when people go to therapy, at least people of color, they don't always see a therapist who is of their race or ethnicity. Oftentimes it's a white therapist, and that comes with some reservations because some of these patients don't really feel like they can talk about racial issues with their therapist, and just fear of just not being understood or given sympathy or empathy. I know I've gone through that. Luckily, I have had really good therapists, and I just hope to carry on that same tradition of offering a face that looks similar to you, that's able to empathize with you. One piece of advice I learned within my culture in regards to therapy is that when we're growing up, our families often tell us that mental illness isn't real, that whatever you're going through can easily be solved either by your family members or just by yourself. You'll grow out of it, that kind of stuff. But some people definitely have real issues that they need taken care of, and that can't really be solved through pure willpower. Some people need to go to therapy or take medication and all that kind of stuff. That can be really tough, and it doesn't feel like your family is on your side. I think advice for people wanting to go into therapy, whether you're Asian American or not, is definitely learn to tell your patients or really anyone you're trying to help that, whatever they're going through is valid and it's real. Oftentimes you're just told it's not real, that you're either being lazy or whiny or any really negative stigma that goes around that, and that it's okay to share what you're going through. So definitely validating those people's experiences. I think one thing I want to say is that I'm definitely a queer Asian American, which I know is super important within our community. Again, another thing that tends to get overlooked is queer people within our community. And I definitely want to be able to represent that. Again, I work at the UConn Rainbow Center, and I'm very proud of that and proud of my different identities as a queer, trans, Asian person. So I guess a little shout out to myself and people who definitely feel that way. I think a lot of queer Asians tend to feel almost ostracized from their families just because of the fear of not being accepted, and maybe even there's some fear of just being scared of going into the Asian American Cultural Center for only being queer. And I think offering that kind of intersectionality between the Rainbow Center and the Asian American Cultural Center is super important.